My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Past Lives. Now, ever since this movie premiered at Sundance earlier this year, everybody has been raving about it. They're calling it the best of 2023. They're calling it a masterpiece. They're calling it perfection. So I started this movie hoping to love it. But I'll always be honest, and I find this movie to be incredibly overrated and just honestly a very bad movie. It just did absolutely nothing for me. Now, when I tell you the plot of these two kids that used to like each other but gets separated and then they reunite many years later, but one of them is married, how do you think this story is going to go? Because it goes exactly like that. I found this movie to be a very straightforward, predictable movie, and the story never worked for me. Because the entire movie is reliant on this foundation which I just could not connect with. The fact that there are these two 12-year-olds who have crushes on each other and then get separated and they've been holding it onto this love for so many years, I do not believe that for a single second. Like when I was 12, you just have a crush on someone pretty much for the sake of it. It's nothing meaningful. Like if in this movie one of them had a bad home life and they supported each other, or if one of them just lost someone and they supported each other, then I could understand the strengths of the relationship a lot more. But I just found it to be a very lacking, pathetic foundation of this entire story. And then the entire romance and the way it starts up again is just very unconvincing. This movie is never as romantic or as charming as it thinks it is. And it's like one of those movies where someone will say something and then there's a 10-second pause before the next person replies. And it just makes for a very dry watch. And when we get to the last act, I just found the main girl to be completely unlikable. Like, he or she is married to a man and she's off hanging out with someone who she knows likes him. And she just kind of puts herself, her friend, and her husband all in a terrible position. And the movie doesn't really hold her accountable. Like, there's one scene where her husband is like, "Do you find him attractive?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think so." Like, you're just making all of his insecurities worse. You're a very selfish person. And I just really hated her more and more the longer the movie goes on for. If you switched the sexes of the two main characters, and it was a girl who stayed behind, and the guy meets another girl and gets married, and this other girl comes back and he hangs out with her, and then he goes back to his wife and he tells his wife how attractive she is, everybody would be like, no, this is wrong. So why does she get a pass here? She shouldn't. And its exploration of missed opportunities and what ifs, I found to be very surface level. It has nothing insightful to say about it. They keep talking about, oh, what if we were together in a past life? Or what if this happened? And it's just okay, and? The last 20 minutes of La La Land tell this exact story and tackles these exact same ideas in a much more profound, emotional way. And that's just at the end of that movie. There was also a 2015 movie called Brooklyn about an Irish immigrant moving to New York, where she finds love. And when she goes back to Ireland, she gets reunited with the past love and she has to choose between the two and which one of her two lives. That's this movie, and I found Brooklyn did it much better. So, like, I don't know, like, I do think the movie works a bit better as seeking closure, but it doesn't lean into that nearly enough. And the entire aspect of cultural identity I found was just very lacking. Like, the character just didn't have enough depth in who she was. Like, we know that she's a playwright, but we don't really know much else. She's just a very lacking character. And I've seen some people defend this movie being like, well, it's because you're meant to put yourself in the shoes of the character. And no, 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 no. That's not good writing. It's just not. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I watch that movie and I can instantly see myself in Joel's position. And I think of someone from a very long time ago. But Joel and Clementine are still fully fleshed out characters that drive the story forward. So, like, I just don't really buy into that nonsense. Greta Lee, I thought, was a very flat performance here. She just did nothing for me. She doesn't have much to work with, to be fair, but still stand by it. Then you've got T.U., who has a few impressive moments. There's one scene when the girl, Noah, is ending things over a Zoom call, and you can kind of just see the heartbreak in his eyes. So I thought he did a fine job in moments, but I don't know, he just doesn't have the charisma for a movie like this. Then we get to, well, you know what, let's talk about the romance, because it just wasn't convincing. Once again, I never bought that these crushes from so long ago would actually mean anything. I just do not buy that. But on top of that, I thought these two actors had very little chemistry. You know, this isn't a romantic comedy, it's a romance. A pure romance. So much of this movie is reliant on the chemistry and you kind of wanting them to be together, and it's just absent here. And then we get to John McGuru, who kind of feel bad for him because he's just kind of left to watch his wife potentially choose someone else over him. But I actually think he did a good job performance-wise. You can kind of tell his internalized insecurity, and movies typically always look down when people act insecure, and I like how he kind of does, but he still tries his best to be as respectful as possible, even though the two main characters were complete dipshits the entire time. Like, really, like, talking in a different language in front of her husband for as long as they did. Just no. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think of what else I can really say about this movie. I do think the last 2 minutes are well done. It ends on a strong note. The direction by Selena Song, I believe is her name, was good. She's not the issue here from a directing standpoint. I think the movie is well shot. Some of the music is nice. It's not a very showy movie, but nor does it try to be. But yeah, like, this movie just did not work for me in any way. I never found it emotional. I never found it to be romantic. I never found it to be powerful or profound. I just found it to be a very empty experience with flat, two-dimensional characters that had a romance that I never bought for a second. The entire foundation of this movie, of these childhood crushes, is just too unbelievable, and it just thinks it's a lot more profound than it is. It does have a couple decent performances and a couple decent moments, but it's just a very forgettable movie that I'll never watch again. And honestly, you should just watch the ending of La La Land or Brooklyn. over this movie. So I'll give Past Lives 3.5 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Past Lives? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin, out.